Hey everyone, welcome back to the Horror Show Anniversary Week. I'm Cecil Laird.
I'm Marcia Parker.
I mean Fuego here.
That's right. This episode is meant to evoke the sort of midpoint of the seasons where we had Susie was sometimes busy, so it was a lot of Fuego Marcia and Cecil. So that's what we're trying to evoke with this anniversary episode. We're going to be doing another review. Again, we did reviews Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So this is your Wednesday review for Anniversary Week. And we are here to talk about a movie that released elsewhere in 2022. I believe its official U.S. release date was February 2023, but even if not, it's one I wanted to talk about, and it is a movie called Piggy. Now, this is a very unassuming horror movie. You know, it's not one that made the big rounds. It was a very independent feature that played the festival circuit. Fuego and I saw it at a film festival here locally.
Yeah, International Horror Sci-Fi Film Festival. Shout out to Monty.
And this is one that I think is very worth covering in its own video. I think Fuego and I talked about it in a roundup at some point on the channel, but this movie is really good, especially in the horror genre. It's representative of a underserved segment of society, you know, the overweight segment that is not usually focused on, and it is a really well-made movie. That, I mean, just getting into the overall thoughts, I really enjoyed this film because there were points at which it was very unexpected. Like, I did not think it was going to play out the way that it did, and then once we got to where we were going, it made a lot of sense, and it was really entertaining, and it was satisfying at the end. So I just really enjoyed this movie, and I want to put more eyes onto it, quite frankly. Now, again, I know Fuego watched it at the same festival as I did. Marcia, you had not seen nor heard of this movie,
No,
right?
I went in with a fresh slate. I didn't know what to expect, and it was really well done. I thought, like, it was an interesting story. It wasn't like a straight A, B to C story either. There was a lot of twists and emotions tied up into it. And there's a lot that was happening without words, which was cool, right? Like, you got a lot of a lot of understanding of the characters and who they are and where the story may lead, may not lead, but just for the reactions with each other and the interactions.
In particular.
Yeah. So and to your point, like, there's a lot of layers to this movie that you just weren't expecting, and the ending was phenomenal. I was like, oh.
Now, so I'm curious, did you watch the dubbed version?
Yeah.
Okay, because we watched it with the Spanish subtitles.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because
You read it in Spanish?
Well, yeah.
Well, we read
Spanish
the
with
English
subtitles.
Yeah.
No, this was an interesting movie. So what I appreciated most about this film was the fact that it was that balancing act of, okay, justification for actions, but then comeuppance and the moral quandary of assistance. And, you know,
really
what do
deserve
I
that?
do?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They went this far with me. Do they deserve things going that far for them? So it was the most impressive aspect, was just that, you know, what a certain character, our lead, is going to do, how she is going to react. Is she going to, you know, just pass the blind eye and just ignore certain horrific things that happen because of the fact that this deals with bullying, you know, most notably because of the weight issue. And as I don't know if you want to do story, but man, dude,
go ahead.
So there is this girl, and she is on the heftier side, unfortunately, and her parents own a butcher shop, and there are a couple very pretty, you know, hoitsy-toitsy local girls that just give her constant shit, man, and
Constantly bully her.
Yeah, constantly, and she's, you know, just very reserved and, you know, just downtrodden and sad about all of this, you know, just constant shit she gets from these girls, and something happens to said girls, and she witnesses it happen, and as opposed to actually, you know, letting authorities know initially, she just kind of is like, fuck them, you know? And in some ways, rightfully so, but then, of course, the conscience comes into play, and she's just like, okay.
Well, and the cops come into play.
Of course,
and,
and they question her because of the fact they know
she's
she
one
was
of the
there.
last people to have seen them.
Yep, in the swimming
And she
pool that they were
lied,
in.
And her moral fabric is tested and all of that, and without spoiling where it ends up, it's a really entertaining story that we don't see very often. And
it does take some twists and turns, you know, when, especially without spoiling stuff, her interactions with the person responsible for having done this stuff, and that's where, from a character study standpoint, it gets very fascinating, because there's almost kind of pseudo love kind of
like
thing,
a little
which is
love
very
thing,
weird,
yeah.
and she's like wondering if she's into it herself a little bit, because she's never got attention before, and you know, she doesn't become a victim. And I'm dancing around on eggshells right now, but that was the stuff I found most fascinating when the film became the most interesting for me, was navigating those waters of, you know, should she or should she not. So
how did you feel about the story and how it played out?
I thought it was really well done. Like, I felt for her. Like, I don't know if I would make any different choices that she made. Like, you know, you know, she was at a crossroads and she had to make a decision on, you know, what to do, and I think she made the right choices given her options. And also, yeah, if someone was total dick to me, like who, you know, to a point where it was threatening, then, you know, why am I going to stick my neck out for that person?
The one leader girl in particular was just absolute garbage, man. Like,
but you know, it comes also, like, you saw the different layers of how she needed to, like, her home life and her interactions outside of her home, and then with the killer, like, she had to figure out who she was within that hour and a half that you're watching this movie, and it was very leading, and it draws you, the story draws you in, and you're just, it wasn't like, you know, constant slasher. It was it was more of a storytelling, which I appreciated, and the end was, like I said, I was sort of shocked at her choice, but
no, and the home life, especially the fact that her parents are kind of shitty to her too, you know, and just the shame of that scene where she has to go back, you know, in the swimsuit and everything, and then her mom is like giving her crap, like, why would you even wear something like that? And it just, you really sympathize and just feel for her big time. So. Yeah.
Acting, I mean, I think the acting was strong across the board. Everyone played their part appropriately. No one took me out of the film. The main girl did an excellent job, though, really wrestling with what she was wrestling with, and slowly having it almost like a telltale heart, like was getting louder and louder to her, you know, the reality of the situation. So I think the acting was phenomenal throughout.
Yeah, I agree. I don't even know if it was her conscious. She was, I think she's trying to, like, wanting to do the same thing, doing the right thing, but she also wanted to save herself. And whether, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it was a conscious thing that got her to the end of it, but I think it was more of like, well, it was situational.
Yeah, the whole implication aspect.
She was pushed into doing the right thing, kind of thing.
So, okay, I guess.
At one point, I was like, oh, man, you're a bigger person than me.
You were good with the acting?
I bet growth-wise, not...
Yeah, careful.
I bet growth-wise.
A bigger person than me, oh, come on.
More mature person. There you go.
Yeah, no, the lead was great, and the girls who were so awful, they sold it, you know, hook, line, and sinker, as far as just their bullying, their needless contempt for this character, who, I mean, doesn't come from wealth and has a strange home life and everything. I mean, there was really no reason for them to be so awful to her,
except for just to make themselves feel better about themselves.
Yeah, I think so. And yet I'm trying to remember, since it's been a hot minute. The person responsible, does he utter any dialogue? I don't think he does, right?
I don't think he talks.
Yeah, I don't think at all. It's
just
like
angry faces.
Yeah, very. But he sold both the mania and also the affinity for our lead character. The
sorrow, like the pity.
Yeah,
you know.
Well, not even so much pity. I don't think he pitied her. I feel like I
think he did.
Maybe a little bit, but you know, he felt that, like, he obviously saw the interactions.
I feel like he felt a connection because
that's what I was implying.
Outcast kind of thing.
A little connection, and because the main decision that they made in that first connection that she had with him, I think he took it as acceptance, and so he admired her for that. But I think that's what it was, like, because of that first interaction. I think he felt a connection of acceptance. Versus she's like, I'm just trying to get out of here.
Well, and I think that's part and parcel to the fact that he sees her being an outsider the way he's an outsider, and relating to her on that level as well.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of depth to the story that you don't anticipate going into it, and it's just really well done. It's a very well made movie. It's gritty where it needs to be. It's
Mostly in the
effectively
third act,
gory and stuff where it needs
once
to
we
be.
get to it, it goes for it in the third act when they're in that warehousey area.
But appropriately visceral, I feel like. It
Yeah.
doesn't feel clean, like, like a real polished studio picture.
Right.
It feels down and dirty the way a movie like this kind of should feel.
Yeah, it's of Spanish-French origin, and it has that gritty Euro art house sort of vibe to it, which I think lent to the subject matter too. So.
Yeah, so, I mean, again, effects-wise, very, very well done.
Yeah.
And nothing... There was not any digital to be had that I can remember, but
there's one scene in the third act where I was trying to, since it's been a minute since I
I
watched
can't
it,
quite
if
remember
it was
either.
total practical, where there's a sever of something that happens with a character.
yeah,
I think it was practical.
I thought so too. Yeah,
it looked really good and very convincing, and the actor sold it too. The actress sold it too. But,
so yeah, I mean, I think this is a total win. I don't want to dive that much deeper because we'll get into spoiler territory, but Piggy is something that you should definitely check out. Again, I know some people are averse to foreign films, but they have a dub and they have a sub version, so you can make your choice. But
and
the
it's on
story,
Shudder, right?
yeah. Is it on Shudder?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. It needs to be
is it
experienced. It might be Hulu. Actually,
Okay, I think it was on Shudder at one point and maybe
I think it's
migrated
Hulu.
over.
I think it's
but,
Hulu now,
okay,
yeah,
yeah,
so-
it is streaming.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Influencer was on.
make sure you check it out. I think it's very worth your time, and thank you very much for watching our review. Thank you to all of our patrons for supporting the channel the way that you do. We greatly appreciate it. And thank you for joining us for this midweek anniversary week review. We greatly appreciate you taking the time.
10 years,
Until
10
next time.
Cannot believe it.
I know. I've been Cecil Laird.
I'm Marcia Parker.
Gracias, amigo.
And remember,
Stay scared.